Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a really fascinating paradox of our times, based on the work of Professor John Vervaeke. We're going to try and figure out why our search for meaning seems to be exploding right alongside this massive wave of meaninglessness.
I mean, think about it. Our culture feels like it's being pulled in two totally opposite directions at once. On one hand, you have this huge boom in mindfulness, a big comeback for ancient wisdom, and even a serious clinical look at psychedelics. But on the other hand, we're dealing with a crisis of anxiety, loneliness, and just deep despair. So what is going on?
How can both of these things be skyrocketing at the exact same moment? Well, in this explainer, we're going to see how they're not really separate issues at all. They're actually two sides of the very same coin, and they both point to a single, much deeper problem.
Okay, so let's start by looking at what Vervaeke calls the light side of this equation, this growing, very public search for a more meaningful, richer life. And you've seen this everywhere, right? Mindfulness apps are all over our phones, books on stoicism are hitting the bestseller lists, and there's some really serious scientific research happening around the therapeutic use of psychedelics. It's clear there's this deep hunger for a better connection to ourselves and to the world.
But, and it's a big but, at the exact same time, the dark side is just as powerful. We're in the middle of a massive mental health crisis, we're seeing a total collapse of trust in our institutions, and there's a real epidemic of loneliness. It's this constant nagging feeling that we're stuck or on the brink of collapse.
It really feels like two completely separate stories, doesn't it? One of hope and one of despair. But what if they're not? What if they're both just symptoms of the exact same underlying condition?
This is where John Vervaeke's work comes in. He argues that there is a single explanation that connects both of these powerful trends, and he calls it the meaning crisis.
So, what exactly is the meaning crisis? Well, you can think of it as a fundamental breakdown in our ability to make sense of the world. It's that nagging feeling that something's missing, that the pieces of your life they don't quite fit together anymore.
Vervaeke has this really powerful metaphor for it. Just like the words in a sentence have to connect in a certain way to create meaning, the different parts of our lives, our jobs, our relationships, our beliefs, they all need to connect to make us feel grounded in reality. When they don't, we get a crisis of meaning.
And this isn't some new 21st century problem. This hunger for meaning is an ancient drive. It's basically hardwired into our brains as a survival instinct. For hundreds of thousands of years, our ancestors got by without a lot of change. But then, after a catastrophic near-extinction event, something incredible happened. They didn't just invent better physical tools. They had a full-blown cognitive revolution, an explosion of meaning-making through art, music, and complex rituals.
They developed what Vervaeke calls psychotechnologies. Now, that sounds complicated, but it's really not. Think of them as mental toolkits, things like shamanic rituals designed to upgrade our mental operating system. They're like the original technologies of transformation, the ancient ancestors of the mindfulness and wisdom practices we see today. A huge part of what these ancient practices did was help us break out of our own self-limiting mental patterns. To see just how easily our minds create these patterns, let's look at a puzzle you've almost certainly seen before. Connect all 9 of these dots using only 4 straight lines.
It's surprisingly hard, isn't it? And the reason it's so hard is the key. The problem isn't the puzzle itself, it's the way our own minds automatically frame it.
Right? The solution is to go outside the box. Literally. Our minds project this imaginary box around the dots, and then our amazing problem-solving skills get completely trapped inside it.
And this right here is the absolute core of Vervaeke's entire argument. See, just telling someone to think outside the box, that's not enough. That's just a belief. What we really need is a change in the skill of perception itself. We need to develop the ability to see the world without creating that box in the first place.
And that brings us right back to where we started. All those light side trends we talked about, they're basically our culture's attempt to rediscover these powerful psychotechnologies that can actually change our skills of perception, not just our beliefs. Because the goal of these practices isn't just to learn some new information. It's to have a transformative experience, a fundamental shift in who you are and how you see the world.
So here's the real takeaway. Lasting change doesn't come from faking it. It comes from actually transforming yourself into the kind of person for whom those positive actions just feel natural.
And that leaves us with a final pretty big question, doesn't it? If the meaning crisis is a kind of trap that our whole culture is caught in, what does it really take for each of us to see outside the box of our own lives
and find a way to truly awaken.